Hi, Jean Bromwich, founder of Reiki Essence Healing Arts. And today I would like to share with you my thoughts about why affirmations don't work. And the reason why I want to share this lesson today for this week is because we have the upcoming solar eclipse, new moon in Virgo. And the archetype of Virgo is all about the smaller details of life and how we care for ourselves, both our physical health and well being, as well as caring for our dreams and what we're building and creating in our lives, how we're putting those smaller details in place as a system to support us along the way. And this year, 2025, as many of us have experienced, is a year of bigger endings that are then bringing on new beginnings. And so we're in that sweet spot in between state when something is coming to an end, but before something new really starts to constellate, we're in that in between zone. And that's where intention can really make a difference. And so working with affirmations, there are many reasons why they don't work and why a lot of people will try working with them and then just, you know, throw their arms up and give up. And the reason for that, there are many reasons. And the one that we hear a lot about is people talking about, well, it doesn't feel believable. I don't buy into what I'm affirming. And then there's also the time of day that we work with an affirmation, where our state of mind is, where our brain waves are when we're working with an affirmation. And then, it's whether or not the affirmation is meeting us where we are. And then there's also the mind, which gets in the way. The mind is wanting to control the outcome of what it means to work with an affirmation. So the mind really wants us to know, well, if I'm going to repeat this affirmation every morning for the next 6 weeks, something better happen or something physical like must manifest. And if that $1 million doesn't show up in 6 weeks, then then clearly the affirmation didn't work, right? Well, here's the thing is affirmations can work. What it is though is it's working with an affirmation in the right dimension of life. So oftentimes affirmations are resourced from the realm of all possibility. When we decide on a desire or a dream that we want to have or a big change we want to make in our life, we're oftentimes exploring the realm of all possibility. And it's a space that is important. We need that space in order for our soul to guide us into the bigger, wilder places that the soul really wants to guide us in life. And those are the places that oftentimes are sound exhilarating, but at the same time can be a little bit scary. And so, really, that's not the place for us to be working with affirmations. The place for an affirmation to work within our life is when we're ready for the next step. So, an affirmation is best utilized in the realm of probabilities. So, instead of being in that realm of, oh, anything is possible, we really want to go to the realm of probability. Like, this is the probable next step for me. It's a baby step and it feels doable. And so, this affirmation is going to support that next step for me. So when a client comes to me for the first time, or and when I'm in the early stages of first working with a client, I really like to combine an affirmation with an energy anchoring exercise, a somatic energy anchoring exercise, where you're actually anchoring the energy around an affirmation by placing their hand on their body and then saying the affirmation out loud. And I'm going to take you through that exercise in a little bit. But first, I also want to talk about the time of day that you work with an affirmation. So, some of the best times of day to be working with an affirmation is first thing in the morning. either when you're like literally just opening your eyes or sitting on the side of the bed with, placing your feet on the floor and just sitting on the side of the bed and reciting the affirmation. And also, another time of day is just as you're falling asleep. And the reason for that is because your mind is very relaxed, your body is very relaxed, and so it is in a much more receptive state. The brainwave state is either at a theta or an alpha state, which means that the mind is receptive to new information, to new patterning of perceiving. And so it's more like a sponge. And so the mind is going to be more receptive to accepting an affirmation that is pointing towards supporting a change that you're making in your life. So, what other times could be great for working with an affirmation? Well, if you're in an energy healing session, like a Reiki session, that is also a wonderful time to be receiving an affirmation because, again, your mind and your body are relaxed. Other ways is when you're meditating. So, if you're just coming out of meditation, to say those affirmations out loud is also another wonderful time. Or if you're going for a nature walk and your mind is in a relaxed state, or you're doing something repetitive like going for a run, or doing chores at home sometimes can puttering. Some people don't like chores and puttering, but other people just find puttering around the house relaxing. So that's another time when you could recall an affirmation, if you find yourself in a relaxed state. So then the other problem, like I said, is the mind getting in the way, the mind wanting to control the outcome. It wants guarantees that if you're going to put in the time and feel silly while reciting an affirmation and doing this exercise, um, are there going to be results? And here's the thing, when you let go of the results and let go of an attachment to any kind of outcome, and you commit to disciplining yourself to do this every day, even when you don't believe it's possible, what this does is it opens up your energy field to the universe. It signals to the universe to synchronize, and allow for the resources, the situations, the open doors of opportunity, the connections that you need to support this shift and change. So, for example, if you are someone who has this big dream of starting a foundation for a cause that you really believe in, that's really important to you, and you have this big, beautiful vision for what that foundation could do, but you have a full-time job that barely meets your basic needs. You have family obligations, or you just you have time constraints also. It's not just about the finances, but it's also about the time. And so affirming that big vision, working with an affirmation around that really wouldn't be helpful at all, because you're in the reality that you're in, and to get to that bigger vision is a very big quantum leap. Not that it's not possible, everything is possible, but the thing is the first thing to do is to take a first action in the direction of that bigger dream. And so perhaps what your next step is to find the time, maybe once a month, to spend a few hours volunteering for a similar organization with people that have the same values as you. So the affirmation could be, I now have enough time to volunteer for a cause I believe in and to meet new people that have the same values as me. So that is an affirmation that's affirming that next step that you feel is doable and won't overwhelm you. So that's an example of how you could create an affirmation that is meets you where you are, feels doable, and yet is giving you that little mental boost of courage to go ahead and take that first step. Trusting then that that next step is going to reveal the next step beyond that, and then the next step beyond that, and so forth. And so this is a process of what Virgo is all about, especially at this time in history that we're living out, with all the chaos and the big changes happening, whether you're personally impacted or you're just feeling overwhelmed by observing what's going on in the collective. You want to be a part of a change, and you want to call in a big change in your life. Whatever it is that you're experiencing right now, Virgo's energies are there to help us plant the seeds, not for the bigger dreams, but to plant the seeds to build a new support system that's going to carry you through in the long run and for the long haul or the long distance. So if I were to have a client come to me and I'm going to use this example of I now have enough time to volunteer for a cause that I believe in. So I'm going to work with that affirmation. And so the first step I would do is, I would talk to somebody. What is it that they're looking to change in their life? We would come up with an affirmation. And then I would have them create a point of reference for how they have felt in the past, or a point of reference for how they think they would feel actualizing their desire. So, for example, if that person who wants to build a foundation, um, said to me, yeah, there was this time that I did volunteer for something, that I believed in, and I met all these new people, and they were really great. Then what I would do is I would guide them to sit back and close their eyes and drop in and recall that memory, and then begin, as they're breathing and relaxing into that memory, they would then begin to scan their body and start to notice where they're feeling themselves release tension. They might feel a little bit of warmth or tingling in an area of their body. And then I would have them choose a part of their body where they would want to anchor that positive affirmation. So it's bringing the mind and the body together. Now, if that person doesn't have a point of reference from the past, then I would have them sit and imagine what it would feel like to enter that space. So, like for the example I'm using, what would it feel like to go in for the first time to volunteer for an event or a cause, and what would it feel like to be surrounded by like-minded people with the same values that they feel a deep connection with. So then I have them begin to imagine what it would feel like. So it would be the same process, only they would be using their imagination to create that scenario. So I invite you now, you might want to pause this video, and I want you to stop and think about, what is your next baby step? What is it that your mind, your body, your health, your well-being, your circumstances, the health of your circumstances, what is needed for you to feel deeply supported in the next steps that you want to take, especially if these steps are require some pattern shifts in your daily routine, some pattern shifts in the way you see yourself, how you see the world. Um, so if you're finding change challenging, what support do you need, and what is the next baby step? And then just take a moment. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead and reflect on that, maybe journal about it, and then come up with an affirmative statement, because that's the other mistake people make with affirmations, is they'll make the affirmation like, for example, I don't want to be around people who don't share the same values as me, you know. So um, if you don't want a negative, you don't want to bring the negative into it. So you always want to stay in the positive. So if it's more prosperity, it's like I don't want to feel scarce anymore. That is not an affirmation. The affirmation would be, I am in the flow of abundance, or prosperity. Prosperity is coming to me with ease, or something along those lines. So you don't want to create the affirmation using negative language. So just take a moment and think about what it is you'd like to affirm for your next steps in life that are going to best support you, especially over the next 6 months. So between the fall equinox and going on the spring equinox, what is going to best support your process and putting those systems in place that are going to support your growth coming into the new year. And then once you have that affirmation and you have that next desired step of what you're calling in for yourself, I want you to then begin to drop your eyelids and just take a nice deep breath, breathing in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And just beginning to let your body release and relax. Taking another deep inhale through the nose. And on the exhale, just allowing your body to release and relax even more deeply. And then I want you to think about your affirmation and then a point of reference. So, have you had an experience in the past where the energy around that affirmation has been experienced? Or if you don't have that point of reference in your past, how would it feel experiencing this next move, this next step, this next baby change that you're making? What would that feel like? And begin to connect in with the energy. Visualize it, feel it, sense it, and just breathe and recall that memory or that imagery of it already happening. And then begin to scan your body and begin to sense in your body where you might feel the energy opening. Perhaps you're feeling some warmth or tingling, or maybe you're just hearing in a voice in your head saying, yeah, my heart wants to anchor this feeling, this affirmation. Or maybe it's your knees or your solar plexus. So just begin to scan your body and see where you'd like to anchor this affirmation in your body. And then place your hands on that part of the body. And so for me, as I'm connecting with this affirmation of I have the time now to volunteer for a cause I believe in, I'm feeling that my solar plexus opening up. But for you, it could be somewhere else. Like I said, it could be your heart, it could be the top of your head, the back of your head, your shoulders, your hips. So just scan and place your hands on that part of your body. And then out loud 3 times, say your affirmation. So for my example, it would be, I now have the time to volunteer for a cause I believe in. I now have the time to volunteer for a cause I believe in. I now have the time to volunteer for a cause I believe in. And just breathe and allow. Allow that affirmative consciousness to anchor itself into your being, saying your affirmation out loud 3 times. And then when that feels complete, gently open your eyes, and that's it. So, over the next 6 weeks, at least 6 weeks, I invite you every morning when you wake up to say this affirmation out loud, placing your hands on that part of your body. If you prefer, you could also do it at night. You could do it both morning and night. In the practice of Reiki, when we do the mindfulness practice of the Reiki precepts, we say them first thing in the morning and we say them at night. Those are the instructions of Usui. And again, the precepts really are life affirming statements. And so it's this very similar to the practice of Reiki, in that we're combining a positive thought form with the energy and with the soma, with the body. And so I really do invite you, with the activation, the energetic activation of this Virgo new moon, that you really utilize it to tap into what systems are going to best support you with your daily routine. This is all about tending to the smaller details of life. This is not about the 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 bigger leaps that we take in life. It's about grounding us. It's about tilling the soil or tending to the soil that's going to become the base, the foundation that grounds any new dreams that arise for us in the coming 6 months. Because as we hit the fall equinox, we're going into the darkest half of the year, that time of year where we're shedding, where we're communing with spirit, where we're journeying within to commune with soul, to ask what's next. So this is really the time of, just like they plant the tulip bulbs at this time of year so that they can then grow and blossom in the springtime. This is the time to plant those bulbs, um, and to then create the environment that's going to nurture that growth. So I hope that this exercise helps. If you enjoyed it, if you find it useful, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm just, getting started, and I invite you to also replay this whenever you need to revisit this exercise. Anytime you're adapting a new habit, you're going through some shifts and patterns, this is a really great exercise to work with, to support you in that process. Because change, even if it's change for the better, the mind really wants to stay in control, and it really doesn't, it likes to sabotage us. And so this is a really great, gentle, simple tool that you can implement into your everyday routine, without it becoming like some big new um, thing that you have to make the time for. Because really, you can do this in less than a minute. And think of it as turning on your operating system. When you turn on your computer, the operating system has to kick up. So that's what working with the affirmations are, especially when you work with them first thing in the morning. It's like, starting up your operating system. That operating system on your computer is going on in the background without it being on the screen, right? So, your conscious mind isn't like going all day thinking about this affirmation. It's really about the unconscious mind. It's about the operating system. It's about getting that started up, and with this new programming, right? This new software. So that's the way you want to think about it. Again, I hope this was helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I wish you a blessed Virgo new moon solar eclipse. May it really bring a concentration of blessings your way, and I will see you in the next video.